investment side, and it offsets the trade deficit. So let's just call it, we got a big reduction in the trade deficit, which is evident. And it's deceptive because Trump believes that that means we have economic activity. For those who think Trump is a genius in business, I got news for you. He's not. He had 3 bankruptcies, and now he considers trade tariffs as a great source of income. And when the income comes in to offset trade deficits, he regards that as economic activity. That's dumb as a rock. What we have now is a continued economic depression where inflation is being reduced in a few pockets, like food and fuel, like diesel, gasoline, food prices. It's calming. It's not coming down much, but gasoline prices are coming down. But insurance is not going down. Rent is not coming down. So where's the economic activity, Donald, that you're boasting about a very strong U.S. economy, the strongest in half a century? What a nutball. We've got offsetting trade deficits from the tariffs. Furthermore, when he boasted of slapping tariffs on Japan, which was a stupid idea, we had SoftBank, which had pledged in March of this year $200 billion in foreign direct investments for data centers, robotics, and electricity plants. They stopped. It was a punitive trade tariff slapped on Japan that never should have been done. They should have been given a complete pass. Okay. Where's the benefit, Donald? It's only to reduce the trade deficit. The costs are that it stalls pledges. Okay, where's the Saudi investment of their $100 billion? Are they building new refineries in the United States, Texas, Louisiana? No. No. Where's the investment, Donald? I don't see any. What we've done is we've angered nations like India. We're slapping a tariff on India. Why? India said, screw you. We're going to embrace Russia and buy their energy and process it and sell it as refined products to Europe. Okay, they're working around the Russian sanctions, Donald. Your tariff is alienating the entire planet. And if you're not careful, there's going to be a global embargo against the United States. He's a business moron. Okay, he's installing liberty and cutting the federal fat in the bureaucracy, and he's exposing USAID, he's exposing the deep state fraud. That's wonderful. But as far as business goes, he's an absolute idiot.
We're hearing price inflation is under control, is it?
Well, if you impose the lie, it looks really good. We never stopped the lie. Robert Rubin was the champion of the Consumer Price Index lie. Robert Rubin, the Treasury Secretary in 1992 for Bill Clinton, the second narco president in the line of 4. We lie. Every percent lied on price inflation is a lie of 1% on economic growth, because that's what we use to bring down the nominal GDP. I believe we're seeing some progress with the food prices. I monitor eggs. Eggs are way down. I just love these little chickens. They can kill a lot of chickens, adult chickens, egg-laying hens. But in 22 weeks, the new chicks are laying eggs. They need to continue to kill chickens. That's what the Agricultural Department of Agriculture, under the Biden show. I don't call it a Biden presidency because he was dead. He was the first dead president in the United States, and that's why Trump put his auto pen signature on the wall. Okay, We do not have price inflation under control because we've not expanded the economy. We've not expanded the supply chain, which you need to do to bring down prices across the board. We do not provide much interest yield for insurance companies on their nut, which is their collection of assets from which they derive bond yield income. That's why insurance rates are going up, because they had 10 years of next to frickin' nothing in income. And the pension funds, same thing. So what do the insurance companies do? They raise the premiums and deny your awards when you have an accident. Sorry, that's not covered. Sorry. No, we're not going to rebuild the house because the fire was an extraordinary event. Okay. The insurance companies have become criminals. The pension funds have become paupers. So no, we don't have price inflation under control. We're not rebuilding the economy. We're not rebuilding the supply chain. I mean the supply chain in 30 industries. I'm not going to name them. Whatever. 30 industries. And we're cutting off supply from China, and prices are going up for everything where we depended on from China. Oh my gosh. The group that hates Trump the most is farmers. They got wrecked in the previous administration. Trump won 2017 to 20. They're getting wrecked again because we can't sell soybeans to China. Can't sell them wheat. We're going to see more historically unprecedented bankruptcies in the farm sector for the Trump 2 administration. Don't get me wrong. I love what he's doing about exposing fraud to the deep state, identifying criminals, cutting out U.S. aid, cutting back the federal bureaucracy. But as far as business goes, he's an absolute idiot.
Threats and benefits. What's the latest on artificial intelligence?
I'm hearing that there are some difficulties in a few of the AI centers, that they cannot obtain enough electricity. I've done two, I think it was July and August, in my report for the newsletter, where we have undercapacity in the United States. We have no national policy. We adopted some of the lunatic, suicidal, cabal, globalist priority of going green. Going green means you destroy your economy because green cannot supply sufficient energy for your economy. It's a very interesting angle where they duped stupid-ass Americans and Westerners into shutting down nuclear plants and arguing, let's go green, let's go all green, let's go all green. Okay, there's your moron. Green energy cannot supply more than 15 to 20% of the energy needs of the entire economy. So when you go green, you kill the economy. Artificial intelligence is blamed for a number of job cuts. I featured in a recent report that Intel and Microsoft had huge, like each over 10,000 job cuts. They blamed it on AI, but I think it's more like they didn't want to say we've got an economic depression. I've been arguing we're in an economic depression since 2021. I define an economic depression as more than a 3% decline in the economy. And I believe we've had an inflationary depression until probably this year. This year we're not really burning with price inflation. We're just a little bit hot. So artificial intelligence is going to continue for the next 5 years to bring about high energy bills, high electric bills at your home. What we might be seeing is some of the consortiums, I know it's consortia, plural in Latin, I don't care. Some of the consortiums might be under rules of engagement where they need to deny the data centers and favor the homes, the households. So I haven't noticed, no client of mine has said, sorry, I've got an account with an AI service, and I get locked out. No one's told me that yet, but I'm reading that they're short on electricity, and this is going to go on for the next 5 years, because priority in the United States has been twofold for the last 5 years: war and economic destruction by the globalists. Systematic destruction by the globalists who partnered with the Democrats, who are basically narcos, communists, and Satanists. So with war and economic sabotage, we're having a hard time. We need to rebuild, and Trump needs to get the hell out of the way for foreign direct investments and quit threatening nations that have already pledged multi-billion-dollar foreign direct investment. Some of it is in artificial intelligence. Here's something to keep in mind. If you got a group of 10 workers and they each put to use AI tools, they can probably do the same amount of work with 8, so they can cut back 2 people. That does not mean AI is doing the job of 2 people. It means AI is reducing the workload or increasing the output. That's better description of the other 8, so that 2 can be let go. So learn your AI tools. Learn engineering. All kinds. Civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. Learn them. Don't have your kids opt out of mathematics for their junior year in high school. That's suicide.
The U.S. government shutdown was allowing President Trump to clean house. Who do you think he'll get rid of?
The Department of Energy, the Department of Education, the National Institute of Health, FEMA, the Internal Revenue Service. That's a really good start. In addition to that, he might have like 10% across the board for all the other agencies. This is a unique opportunity for Trump to kill jobs from executive orders, which most people and most congressmen don't even recognize. Okay, this government shutdown has many, many different aspects. I'm reading from at least, 8 or 9 different sources that there are thousands of arrests being done right now. State level, corporate level, they're being arrested. They're traitors. They're spies working with the Chinese Communist Party. They're agents funneling in money from the Chinese and funneling out money from the U.S. government to the cabal in Switzerland. That's the headquarters, Geneva. That's where the Satanists operate. When I do my prayers, I ask for the Lord Jesus to protect me from the Satanists and their demonic attacks coming out of Geneva and the Vatican. For all you Catholics out there who aren't aware, the last pope was a Satanist. Pope Bergoglio, Francis Bergoglio, Satanist. Get a grip, people. Vatican's a Satanist organization masquerading as a Catholic church. They've even done Satanist rituals in the cathedral in the Vatican, and the people are so slow and so dim-witted they didn't even know they were attending a satanic mass. Okay, Trump is arresting a lot of people. It could be that FEMA will be completely dismantled by the time this shutdown is over with. I think the shutdown is going to last no more than maybe 10 days to 2 weeks more. Trump has arrested every single person leading the Antifa. That's a beautiful thing. And Antifa is another insult to intelligence. It means anti-fascist when they are fascist. So the dumbasses say, Antifa is not fascist, it's anti-fascist. No, you're a dumbass. The United States and Canada are loaded with dumbasses. I think a third of the population. Your next door neighbor might be a dumbass. Your coworker across the hall might be a dumbass. There are dumbasses all over the place. The narcos, communists, and Satanists have solicited the Democrat Party loyals to do their pleading and do their rioting. They're supported by the dumbasses, and include my older brother. He doesn't even know that he's supporting Marxists. Oh no, Jim, that's more like, diversity and, equality, equity. This is not communism. Well, censorship was part of communism, you idiot. I mean, I'm telling you, my brother is typical. We're loaded with dumbasses across the country. We need to re-educate. We've got close to, I think, 2 decades of bad education in the United States. People go to college to determine their gender, not to learn mathematics and science. We've turned into nations of idiots. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a non-binary. I believe that men can be pregnant. I'm not going to go there. Oh, no. What a moron. They go to college to major in drugs and alcoholism. I knew several. What do they come out of college learning? What do they come out with? Oh, I tell you, I really admire a guy named Jack Ma, the Alibaba. This is not about education, but it's a very related point. He said the U.S. government spent $20 trillion in the last 40 years on military. What'd you get for it? You got rotting infrastructure in the United States, and you got 30 nations that hate your guts. You got a lot of rich military contractors, got a lot of busy warriors. Where'd you get out of your 20 trillion? Okay, we have not put money in education. Look at all the different universities that are now sanctuary havens. Look at the morons at Harvard University. Oh my gosh. Never seen such stupidity in my life. Okay, I'm getting off the point, but this shutdown has many different parts. It could be attacks on the sanctuary cities. I'm making a prediction. Illinois Governor Pritzker could be the first one arrested for sedition, harboring criminals, and outright treason. The states that I think are vulnerable are California with Newsom, Illinois with Pritzker, Oregon, and New York. Washington is no different from Oregon. I just don't see them in the news very much. We could be seeing a number of arrests. What might happen, and this is what I expect to happen, the underlings to Newsom in California might get arrested so he doesn't have his support structure while they're revealing his multi-billion-dollar frauds. And Pritzker's underlings might be arrested. I heard the mayor of Chicago is going absolutely berserk and psycho and might have to resign for basically going crazy. I want the Illinois governor arrested. I want 10,000 National Guard descending on Chicago. A judge needs to be arrested who made a suggestion that the barrier to the Chicago ICE, the Immigration Control Enforcement, the barriers, the fences need to come down for the ICE. Why? So they can attack it. Well, that's an act of insurrection. So that's a judgment ruling by the court of insurrection. Take down the governor, take down a few judges. Let's clean house. The shutdown is about cleaning house and reducing the size of the government.
Do you think people funding Antifa could also be involved in Agenda 2030, depopulation and pedo rings designed to destroy societies?
Yeah, but I'd really focus on Antifa as being the official rioting army, if you will, rioting in the sanctuary cities. They're funders. Okay, having Antifa declared a terrorist organization, domestic terrorist organization by Trump, that was a great step. Now we can go in and just arrest them. But he's gone further. He's saying, let's seek out the funding, and it's the Soros Open Society funding. So he's talking about RICO. But, they're really empty words, because it's Alex Soros. The father's dead. The father, George, he's pictures all over the place, but he's dead. I mean, when people are dead, people don't recognize it because most people are very slow mentally. Alex Soros is in charge, but the Open Society assets are sitting in Switzerland. I believe over 90% are sitting in Switzerland. You can't RICO Switzerland, Donald. So, don't talk bluster. How many Open Society assets are sitting in the United States? I think it's way under 10% of their multi-billions. They're sitting in a core in Switzerland, not to be touched. Okay, so yeah, let's go after Antifa and dissolve it. I heard 2 years ago that the heads of Antifa were arrested. Well, they get replaced, so we need to continue to arrest. They're designed to destroy society, but that's not Antifa's role. That's the globalist role. It's the big bankers' role. They talk about 320,000 unescorted kids who are missing. It's a lot bigger than that. It's probably closer to 1 million. That's just the number they can count. How many do they not count? They don't talk about what they can count. I mean, if some guy and a woman have 2 kids and they have falsified papers and they say, well, we're all together, that's not called unescorted. But you get across the border and then they hand them over to the Biden authorities and put them into trafficking networks. So those are 2 that are not counted, and there's 320,000. Okay, the numbers are way low. Okay, enough. Antifa has been identified as a domestic terrorist organization, and I love it.
By designating Antifa an international terrorist organization, can the U.S. arrest members, funders, and politicians supporting Antifa anywhere in the world, including Canada?
They really need the support of those particular sovereign nations. You can't send U.S. Marines or Special Forces into Netherlands, into Switzerland. Well, Switzerland, they got the entire national police supporting the cabal. They're on contract. So that would start a war. You can talk about it. That could be nice bluster, might make really good headlines, but it's not going to happen. You need to get the support. Oh, I heard there was a case where the Italian military helped to halt a trafficking network for kids. The Italian military was working with the U.S. Special Forces. That's how you get it done.
People on the left, including Jimmy Kimmel, are saying there is no Antifa. It's an idea, an entirely imaginary organization. Your thoughts?
He's a liar.
Saturday, October 18th is being called No King's Day for a day of protests across the U.S. What are you hearing about it?
I'm not hearing much, but I've read in the past about No King's Day, and it's got a lot of sponsored violence, like delivered pallets of half bricks. You know, if you get a full brick, that's pretty heavy. If you get a half brick, that's got some decent weight. But isn't it amazing that during the demonstrations that involve sanctuary cities and Antifa, there are always deliveries of bricks at important centers and street corners? Well, I don't think No King's Day will be any different. Therefore, I don't remember her name. It's one of the Waltons. I can't think of her first name, but she's one of the heiresses and directors on the board for Walmart, and she's a major contributor to No King's Day. If they could track some of the funding of No King's Day back to that Lady Walton and identify that as fomenting rioting, then I would be in favor of arresting her ass and giving her a multi-million-dollar fine and 100 days in prison. And if it continues, run a RICO and declare no King's supporters as part of domestic terrorists. Link them with Antifa. I don't think it'd be that hard. So if we get some elite corporate, magnates, wealthy types, associated with Antifa, I would love to see RICO applied to their wealth.
Why do you think Commonwealth countries are being targeted for destruction?
Because they belong to the crown, the British crown. They're not independent nations. They're subjects to the crown. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they're subjects to the crown. They're not sovereign nations. And they don't even know it. Because many of their citizens are dumbasses. They don't know their own country.
In Canada, we're hearing of influence on governments by the World Economic Forum, the Chinese Communist Party, India, Mexican cartels. Canada is being referred to as a narco state. The Carney Liberal government is pushing for censorship and gun grabs. All levels of government in Canada seem okay with this. Do you think President Trump wants America living next door to a crime scene?
No, I agree that there's a lot of influence by the Davos World Economic Forum and the Chinese Communist Party and the Mexican cartels, but I don't think India has influence over. I just think that India has been supplying maybe 100,000 people for infiltration and occupation, not for fomenting violence, but just for occupying space, like all through British Columbia, and 20 different small cities in BC. They've got a lot of influence. I don't call it a narco state. I call it a globalist cabal state. I call it an experimental zone. Can the Geneva cabal impose and install communism in Canada without a revolution? So far, so good. I mean, there was uprising 3 years ago with the truck convoy, the caravan, but their GoFundMe fund, I think it was $5 million, was confiscated by the government. There was some resistance to that. There was some vocal resistance to that. I didn't see any pitchforks. They got rid of Trudeau, and my call was, well, they'll replace him with someone maybe who's better toilet trained and can lie to the people more effectively. That worked out pretty well. They're still imposing communism in Canada. I don't think they're going to confiscate the guns. If they do, that'll be a big mistake. I put the finger of blame on the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They're probably all vaccinated, and the ones who refused the vax were fired. So they're vaccinated little, little Borg network nodes. When your Praetorian Guard doesn't protect against a dictator like Caligula, you get a breakdown. Your Praetorian Guard is your Mounties, and your Caligula is now Carney. Let's face it, Trudeau was a better described Caligula. In the United States, the Caligula was Hillary. And then the pseudo-Caligula was Biden, but he was really dead, so we had to deal with a clone. We had to deal with a double. Even my sister fell for that. And finally, when I showed her a picture of Vice President Biden next to the new fake Biden, she said, oh, that's an awakening by someone who got fooled. Oh, I love the Mark Twain quote. It's easier to fool a person than it is to convince them they've been fooled because of pride. Oh, no, I wasn't fooled. Oh, well, I wasn't fooled. Well, evidence is pointing to the fact that you were fooled. You were fooled by the deadly nature of a vaccine deadly nature of a pandemic that didn't exist. I've got a chart from May 2020, and it shows the official National Institute of Health data for influenza. It dropped severely. It just fell straight down because they called it COVID. Standard influenza was called COVID, and it's evident in the data. How many people picked up on that? I picked up on it right away. My clients picked up on it right away. Okay, you've got an experiment, and it's been going on in Australia too. They're imposing communism. They're not getting a lot of resistance. They're getting a lot of chatter from upset people who are yelling. I don't see any pitchforks. I don't see a march on the parliament. I don't see an attack on the guards to the parliament. I don't see any disappearance of Mounties. You just got a lot of people who are upset while your country is being laced up and down, left and right with communism. Enjoy your communism or resist.
The U.S. Articles of Confederation include a provision to expand the U.S. to include Canada. Do you think President Trump will use the art of the deal to make Canada the 51st state?
I don't really think so. That's a big, big task. I think more likely is we're going to get a gigantic battle to annex Alberta. I think that's the point of conflict, Alberta, for a number of different reasons having to do with health mandates, export of minerals and energy products, oil, gas. They're sick out west. Saskatchewan and Alberta, from my understanding, and I'm not an expert in this, but Alberta and Saskatchewan are really angry about the federal imposition of orders and stupidity to impose communism, censorship, and sponsor genocide through medicine. So I think Trump is going to focus on Alberta, but it doesn't seem to be a high priority for him. He's got his day filled. He's got his week filled. 51st state, I don't think so. But, there's a bigger question. It's the United States of North America. And that could be not a state, but you know how Scotland is a sovereign nation, but it's within the United Kingdom. Wales, the same. Northern Ireland, the same. And it's all part of the United Kingdom. So I think we're going to get like the United Kingdom of the United States. They're calling it the United States of North America, USNA. It's going to include Greenland. And I don't wish to discuss Greenland except for, not just rare earth metals, but control of waterways in the Arctic. We're very likely to see the United States of North America as a union. And it's not so much the 51st state with the governor and senators and the Congress. That's not how I expect to see it. It'd be more like a group of nations, including Greenland, that decide we want to be part of a bigger union for, say, military protection and maybe a common currency, something like that.
People are easy to replace, but what is happening in Canada is that the best and brightest are leaving. Doctors and nurses, well-off retirees, high-tech talent, high taxpayers, long-term Canadians, and the replacement migration is not replacing them. The 5 leading countries for migrants are India, China, Nigeria, Philippines, and Afghanistan. That's a massive loss of tax base as well as higher demand on the system and a loss of culture. If Canada does not merge with the U.S., could Canada become a third world country?
Well, yeah, the United States qualifies in 13 out of 20 categories for being third world. Why not Canada also? And what's wrong with an Afghani? They don't speak English. They don't know mathematics. They probably can't assimilate and have a job. They're a perfect migrant. India, pretty much the same thing. I don't think they integrate too well. They tend to be more skilled. I've actually worked with a number of Indians, both in a computer company and at Staples. I used to eat lunch with a group of 5 accountants who were in a neighboring department. They were really nice guys. One was a woman. Nice group of Indians. I'd be more worried about Chinese infiltration, because China doesn't come in and just operate companies. They report back. They're spies, and they create the hidden financial channels and the drug channels, like fentanyl. You get rid of your Chinese immigrants, and you'll probably solve your fentanyl problem. Nigeria, that's another unskilled area. Do you think they're going to become doctors and nurses? They're going to be operating your convenience stores? You think they'll be buying agents for your big box retail outfits? I don't think so. No, you're importing a welfare state, and they're on call to riot. The Afghans are all through Antifa. I'm telling you, we've imported revolutionary migrant trash, unskilled, unassimilatable migrant trash that barely speaks English, if at all. But they know how to throw a rock, and they know how to fire a gun. And they know how to rape your daughters. They've got that equipment. They've got that skill down. And your leaders brought them in. It's not loss of tax base, sure. Increase of violence. Women and daughters are rape material. And the police are letting them go. So you've got installation of communism with a complete breakdown of your society and a bunch of migrant trash occupying spots. Get rid of them. I heard Trump has gotten rid of like 30,000 migrants just in the last 10 days. What are you guys doing up in Canada? I don't see any pitchforks. I don't see any torches. And I don't see you surrounding your parliament. You're taking it lying down. And you're yelling. I give you credit for yelling.
What are you hearing on the danger level of this fall's booster flu combo?
Deadly. All injections contain the mRNA component for wrecking your immune system. So if you haven't learned anything in the last 4 years, go ahead and take your flu shot. Join the vaccine injured. Join the dead people. Open up a cemetery plot. Lose your job. Prepare to become a pauper. Go ahead. If you haven't learned anything in 4 years, go ahead. Take the booster. Take the flu shot. Follow the guidance of your criminal leaders if you haven't learned anything. But I don't think many people will take it, because the dumbasses in our society have been reduced in numbers from the previous rounds. Okay, I have a saying, Jim, and this came as a result of many months of absorption of stupidity. Most people spend more time in developing the ingredients of their marinating sauce to marinate their steaks than they do studying the contents of a vaccine that their doctor recommends and their doctor gets a reward for as it kills you. Or kills your immune system. It's hard to reverse the damage of the vaccines, and most people don't even know what mRNA means. Oh, what does that mean? It means messenger RNA, ribonucleic acid. And your genetic material is a double helix, and it's deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. It should really be dRNA, but it's DNA. Be careful with the fall booster. I can honestly say, Jim, I did not take a single flu shot my entire life. I've been sick in the last 40 years, maybe 5 or 6 times. Not every year, not twice a year. I actually told co-workers at Staples, this was 98, 99, I said, you take the flu shot, I guarantee you're going to get sick. No, Jim, it's to prevent it. So then they got sick, and I said, I told you so. And they said, well, it's not related. Okay, again, we've got a large portion of our societies that are dumbasses. I once had, I got to tell you a little side story. I did a consult call, and it was a guy in Texas, I think, or Florida, I can't remember. And he said, Jim, my wife wanted to be part of the consult call, but now that I've finally done it, she decided she didn't want to join it because you call so many people a dumbass. And I said, well, does she believe that the vaccine was useful? Yeah. Does she believe the pandemic was real? Yeah. Does she believe that it's a good idea to support Ukraine for the war? Yeah. Does she believe that the migrants coming into the country are just looking for a better life and asylum? And he said, yeah. I said, you got a dumbass for a wife. Are you sleeping with her?
Could the jabs be designed to make people more passive so they're less likely to stand up and fight for what's right?
Yes, I think that's one of the additional effects. It reduces intelligence. It reduces cognitive function, which means that if you put 10 items of information in front of them on a table, the unvaxxed will arrive at a conclusion with more ability than the vaxxed. A lot of people don't know what it means, cognitive ability. It means ability to think. It means ability to put things together, to assemble items and arrive at a conclusion. What does it mean? Answering that question. So yeah, they become more passive. They also become more injured, Jim. If they have a head, like I knew a woman and she did not listen to me. In 2021, I said, Maria, don't take the vaccine. No, tome la vacuna. And she did. And she contacted me 10 months later and said, I'm sick all the time. I said, I hope it's not serious. She said, I've got a head cold. Sometimes it seems I have the flu every 6 weeks. I said, well, congratulations. You didn't listen to me. Why? And she said, well, all my friends said it was a good idea, and then the government called me and said it's really recommended. Okay, well, you're obedient. Congratulations. You're obedient. And she's more passive, I'm sure. Okay, when you're injured, you don't have as much energy because all your metabolic functions are fighting the invasion force. So you don't have as much energy to go out with a pitchfork.
In a letter, President Trump's doctor stated that Trump just received the booster and flu shot combo. Do you think President Trump actually got the shot?
I think the doctors lied.
What are your top 3 conspiracy theories that you think have a good chance of being proven true?
Well, okay, already proven true or going to be proven true? Let me just answer the general question. I think the vaccine is deadly. That is going to be a conspiracy theory proven true. That the pandemic was false and a lot of general influenza was called COVID. I think that is going to be proven true. That the election was stolen. I think that's going to be proven true. Let me add a couple more. That the fires and the food supply shortages, including burning down poultry farm hotels that was based on a false avian flu. That conspiracy theory will be proven true. The Ukraine war to fight for liberty, no, it's for narcos and underground trafficking of all kinds. That would be proven true. And here's another one, I'll just throw it out. The cabal, the Democrats, many bankers, and the globalists are going to be identified as Satanists. There's a lot of conjecture, there's a lot of accusation to that effect. That will be proven true, and that is very difficult for good people to swallow. Are you telling me that those Hollywood actors are Satanists? Well, Megan Fox, that extraordinary beauty from 10 years ago, she openly talks about being a satanic princess. Madonna, before she was executed and replaced by a bad double, she openly talked about satanic rituals. Okay, there are a lot of conspiracy theories. Okay, I love the placard that I see. It's a really nice looking, 1950s type mother in America with her little boy. And she says, I hate to tell you, Billy, but the conspiracy theorists are ahead 48-0. Well, it's now 60-0. Every couple months we get another conspiracy theory proven true. So I regard all those people who criticize the conspiracy nuts, they are your dumbasses.
Is there a difference between stupid and brain dead?
That's good. That's good. I don't know. I think they overlap a lot. You can't cure stupid, but you can produce brain dead. I know some people who weren't very bright, and they worked hard at it, and they became more intelligent. So stupid can be improved upon. Brain dead is kind of like a zombie with, a sub-Saharan 70 IQ permanently. And I don't mean to be a racist in any way, but if you look at global records of intelligence, at the dead bottom by a long margin is sub-Saharan Africa. 70, 80 IQ. Just barely smart enough to put food in their mouths and barely native enough to put their unit in their woman's you-know-what, to bring about children. There are a lot of dumbasses out there. I do not distinguish my dumbass population component as being stupid versus brain dead. They're all mixed together. It's hard to tell them apart. Most of them are vaccinated, including my brother. My brother qualifies as brain dead, a New York Times moron. My old college roommate, Billy, from New York, he was brain dead. He bought the New York Times theories, bought it all. I said, Bruce, his name was Bruce. I changed the name, but now he's dead. Who cares? I said, Bruce, you're not going to last 12 months. He said, Jim, you're not a doctor. I trust my doctor more than you. I said, okay, you can trust your doctor all the way to the cemetery. He was dead in 5 months. Okay, what's stupid? Stupid is inability to think with facts and data in front of their faces. Brain dead could be that they don't even recognize what a fact is. And they might not know where the table is located. You say, the table's over there, Johnny. And he says, what do you mean? Okay. The vaccine has done horrific damage to our societies, and we're not done with it. There are a lot of people who believe that this year and next year we're going to have a lot of dead people who had a delayed reaction to the vaccine, in order to die. We're going to have to see. I don't know. I tend to doubt it. I think if they're not dead yet, they're not going to die. They'll just be damaged, sick, constantly sick. And a sick person is great for the health industry, lots of income. Remember, the doctors don't want you to be cured. A client cured is a customer lost. That's why they're resisting even now the cancer cure announcements. Ivermectin, fenbendazole, even green tea. And there are many, many natural ingredients, natural, substances, medicines that alleviate and cure cancer. They don't want that. Cancer's an $800 billion annual industry. They don't want cures. I could go on and on about cancer, but I won't.
Where can our listeners subscribe to the Hat Trick Letter to get your latest issue, and how can people contact you for a private consultation?
The website is golden-jackass.com. My earbuds fell out, Jim. Sorry about that. When I get all excited, my earbuds move. It's golden-jackass.com website. I'm in my 22nd year. On the last couple of days of each month, we post a newsletter for the month. In the middle is a subscribe button. There's also a button for consults. I've done 800 now in close to 6 years. That's a lot of consults. It's more than one per week. I find that the great majority of them are really enjoyable. They're nice people. They tend to be smart people, not dumbasses. And every once in a while, I learn something really important. And hit the consult button, line up your questions, and we'll have a conversation. There's also a donate button for people who want to help me out on a regular basis or help me out on a unique basis. I like the people who don't necessarily want a newsletter, but they pick up on the interview shows and they want to help me out. So make regular contributions to the donate on the donate button. There's also a sponsor button, and this is near and dear to me. This is a very emotionally touched button. It's for $1,000 donation and more, and it gets touched every month. And it happened again yesterday, and I fall to my knees because most of them, not all, most of them are Christians. And they realize that I'm going through a rather hellish experience for the last several years, calling out Satanists for their fraud, their corruption, and the harm they do children. But I don't dwell on that. I just mention it quickly. But I'm being harmed, I'm quite certain, by occult, dark, demonic forces. And it's hard to prove. And good people would rather not think about it. But there are a number of Christians who help me out and provide sponsorship. It's really supporting my mission. And I encourage people to make donations, large and medium and small. Help me because I'm under attack. It's the other side of calling out corruption and evil. It's not just fraud. It's not just USAID. It's child trafficking. It's adrenochrome harvesting. It's a lot of what's going on in Ukraine. Ukraine is a trafficking center with 7 different products. And their money laundering is going through Switzerland, which ends up going into the FangMat stocks. Money laundering into the FangMat stocks. Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, Hyphen, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla. You heard me correctly. Money laundering is going into the FangMat stocks. They don't like that name, so they call themselves the Magnificent Seven to make them seem noble. They're not. They're evil. And all their CEOs take orders from Geneva and the cabal. Okay, so by being such a big mouth, I'm getting harmed. I'm getting attacked. With car crash deaths, fires, collapsed roofs, rat attacks, you name it, more. So subscribe to the newsletter, make donations. I'm willing to do consult calls for your favorite questions. And thanks for having me on, Jim. It's always a pleasure, and a lot of people really like this format.
Jim, thanks for being on goldradio.fm.
My pleasure.
My guest has been Jim Willie, editor of the Hat Trick Letter, online at golden-jackass.com.
Comments made on goldradio.fm are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at HouseStreet.com, TalkDigitalNetwork.com. goldradio.fm is a production of House Street Media Incorporated. Executive producer is Tom Allen.